My introduction to the world of Kali was in 1998. My instructor hosted a master seminar here in Port Richey, Florida. And we had quite a bit of a good group of illustrious martial arts instructors there, among which were Michael DePasquale Jr., Danny Lane, Jack Hogan, Joe Hess, and representing Kali and modern Arnis were Rafi Pambuan and Bruce Chu. Now, I had no idea who these gentlemen were. I knew what Kali was, I knew the Filipino arts, I knew what they were, but I had never really witnessed them up close and personal like that. And I was really, really impressed, to say the least. I can definitely say that the small seed was planted in the back of my head that at some point I did want to delve into this. Of course, at the time I was still very much a student, and cross-training was frowned upon, prior to black belt, which I can understand. You definitely have to have a good grasp of your core art before you can go out and branch out. I get that. So anyways, I remember being very impressed by the speed, the footwork, the agility, the weapons work, just the whole package. I was very, very impressed. So fast forward to 2013, I think it was on Facebook or somewhere online, I saw an ad for a seminar with Guru Danano Santo. Now, of course, I knew who he was. I'm a big Bruce Lee fan, as you know. And just the idea of being in the same room with someone that was, a good friend, student, teacher, and confidant of Bruce Lee for many, many years. Just that alone was worth the price of admission. But I really wanted to, because I had that seed planted back there from 1998, I felt it was a good time for me to start cross-training. And a word about that really quick. Let me digress just a second. I firmly believe that if you ever want to really cross-train and learn another art, the only right way to do it is to put on that white belt and become a student. Set ego aside, empty your cup, which is a very, it's a very common saying in a martial arts school. In fact, right above me in my camisa is an empty cup. And students often ask me why that's there. It's there to remind me and my students that you can't have any preconceived notions. You can't bring in what you think you know about everything into a learning situation, or you will never truly learn. You can't fill a cup up with more water, which represents knowledge, when it's already full of your own knowledge. So you have to empty that out. And for someone to really cross-train, like I said, to really do it and get all the benefits out of it, you have to forget what you know, put on the white belt, and learn just like everyone else. So that's what I decided to do. Now, before I could do that, I had to kind of identify, from my research, there was tons of styles of Kali and families of Kali. So I figured this was a good start. Two birds with one stone. I get to see somebody that I admire and get introduced. So I flew up to North Carolina with a student of mine and friend, Joe DiGiovanna. We went up there for the seminar in North Carolina, and I was blown away. First, I was in awe by meeting Guru Dan, which was even in his, I think at the time he was in his higher 70s, just his agility, his speed, the way he explained everything, of course the history, he likes to teach a lot of history. We got a lot out of it. I was overwhelmed. I can't say that I retained a lot of information from that first experience, but it definitely reawakened that seed in my head. I definitely wanted to plant that seed for sure. So I came back, we worked on some stuff, and I'm not sure why, but I don't think I could find anybody nearby. It was just a bunch of reasons. Life. Fast forward to 2014, I still hadn't really found anyone to train with on a full-time basis, but I saw that he was coming around again, this time in Jacksonville. So Joe and I went up again, drove up this time, and this time I was able to get more out of it. We knew what to expect. I was practicing some of the core basic concepts that I could remember from it. And during the time we were at the seminar this time, I met one of his senior instructors who was based out of Jacksonville, and while I was there, I arranged to start doing private training with him. Now when I came back, I continued to do research, of course, and I kept coming across a name, Radianaldo. And it was through a bunch of forums, and I'm not even sure, when you go down the rabbit hole of searching, you don't know where you end up, but I kept seeing the same name over and over and over. And somehow I came across an email for him. So I'm like, what the heck, let me try. So I shot him an email, introduced myself, explained my background, my history, my experience. And sure enough, the next day he answered my email, and he told me he was in Europe at the time. I think he was flying in from Italy to Tampa. I come to find out he lived in Auburndale, which was not too far away from me. And he actually offered to come to me, to my school. At that time, I was just finishing up building my first brick and mortar school, my very own school. I had waited a while to do my own school. Many reasons for that. I won't go into that for now, but I was opening up my school in Tarpon Springs. And sure enough, we arranged for him the following week to come in. He drove in and met me and kind of asked me some questions, asked why I was, wanting to learn Kali and all that. And I explained to him my reasoning about learning concepts to make my art better. I explained where I thought my art has holes and where it could be better based on my experience. And luckily, he had a pretty solid background in Aikido arts, karate, so we kind of spoke the same language in those regards, so he knew where I was coming from. So we did a 3-hour lesson. It was a private lesson, which I filmed. And we did 1 hour of panantukan, which is Filipino dirty boxing. We did 1 hour of sticks and 1 hour of knife. And I gotta say, as I'm going through this lesson, you could see my face on video, it was like light bulbs going off everywhere. And I could quickly saw the complexity, the depth of a system in what is FCS, Filipino Combat Systems. And even after that first lesson, I had so many ideas, so many ways I could integrate some of those concepts. Now, of course, I didn't do it right away. I waited. Of course, you have to, in my opinion, of course, you can't just go run off to seminars and train with somebody for 2 or 3 days and come back and start changing your art or adding to your art. You have to put the time in. You got to put years and years of training in and test it and really think about doing it responsibly. I worked on some stuff with some few trusted students at the time that had come over with me to open up my school, and slowly had an incubator there, and we kind of worked some stuff out. And as I progressed and took privates with Tuhon, it was almost a year I took privates with him, and then I met Ray Norton at one of the gatherings, the first gathering I went to. The gatherings in FCS are a week-long seminar, if you will, or training camp, where everyone, the who's who of FCS, flies in, and it's just a week-long of awesome training. So that was the first one I went to, and I met Ray Norton, Guru Ray Norton, who after all these years I'm lucky enough to call friend and colleague and teacher. I'm lucky enough to have him teach the Gulf Coast FCS Kali. His school is based out of the academy here now, so we're all kind of one big happy family. So I'm really lucky that I have that. It allowed me to quickly really assimilate and work on things even more so than just doing privates. So that's kind of where I started. That's where my progression, my very slow progression in Kali. It's been almost 7 years now. And I feel that I have a good firm understanding of the concepts I wanted to bring into Nihon Goshin Aikido. And I've been doing that. And in the next and last video, I explained specifically how I'm doing this for those of you that are interested. I've been asked via email and text about certain things that I've been putting out there on video. So I'll try to explain that the best I can. But that's kind of how I found Kali, my journey into it. And I'm really glad I found it, and I think in the whole, it's made me a better martial artist, and it's definitely, in my opinion, transformed the way I teach defense. It really has. And that's that.